Hey, friends, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dr. Sherri. I cannot wait for you to hear today's special guest of my amazing friend, Greguyschka Felix. Y'all hailing from Canada. Say what? Welcome to the show. Greguyschka, or Greguy for short. Y'all, I was blown away by this episode when I listened back to it, when I was doing the editing process. We talked about some slam dunk truths, let me tell you. And listen, the title of this episode, From Paralysis to Warrior, Greguy shares her story of working for a Fortune 500 company, leaving that Fortune 500 company because literally out of fear, workplace bullying, believing lies, her body, y'all, was paralyzed. She was unable to walk, and that is the power of the mind. And then she talks about her beautiful journey and transformation to being able to recognize that as a woman, she not only has a warrior within, she is a warrior. And it's a matter of waking up to that truth, waking up and using that and being that truth. We step on some toes in this episode, and I know it's going to bless you. I know you're going to love it. I know you're going to end this episode playing like Rachel Platten's fight song or some other woman's anthem, because that's how powerful it's going to make you feel. Thank you to my special, beautiful, amazing friend, Greguyschka, or Greguy for short. And without further ado, lean in, listen, and get ready to awaken your warrior. Here's why I do that, Greguy, because my very first podcast episode that I ever did, we did 4 takes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. So take 1, it was like awesome. We had, and literally these were like 4-hour-long conversations. So the first one, I forgot to hit record. I'm not kidding. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So you wanted me to hit record before we got into this. Trust me. So. Good morning, Greguy. Where are you drinking coffee from this morning?
I am drinking from Ottawa, Canada. Woo-hoo!
Nice. Woo-hoo. All right. Ottawa, Canada. Born and raised?
Born and raised in Canada, Montreal. I moved to Ottawa, our lovely capital.
Yes.
And where, I love Canada. Like we're great Canadian people. We're so nice.
Yes, you are. You are. And I just love your Niagara Falls. I have to tell you, that's like, that's the extent of my cultural understanding of Canada.
At least you didn't say, well, Canadian and the igloo. So I have to give some props there. Every time
people talk about Canada,
American talking about Canada has to do with some cold or some igloo, and I'm like, that we have a whole big country, right?
Right. It covers the entire length, if not more, of the United States. Like, it's massive. That's funny. So where is Ottawa geographically?
It's in Ontario. So it's more like in the east end of Canada. So east end, Atlantic aspect. So it's a very small town compared to so many other cities in Canada.
Yeah. So, but you're kind of like due like north of like our New England states, or a little west of that?
Good question. That's where my extent of the United States. So I would say I would be north from Virginia, and more like in East End.
Okay. Got it. Perfect. So now, where is the shopping capital of Canada?
Well,
no, because I've heard people take trips to Canada just to shop.
Yes. So you have Toronto, which is more on the west end of, it's still in Ontario. So you guys have states, we have provinces. So within the province of Ontario, you have Toronto and Ottawa. So Toronto is the shopping, financial aspect. Montreal, which is more French Canadian, also have big, beautiful shopping malls, and then you have Vancouver, where you have the beautiful landscape, but you still have also some of the shopping. But Vancouver is more like for the beauty of the scene.
Yes. Okay. So now I guess nobody's doing too much in-store shopping these days.
No.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. I just did a little bit of online stuff myself just to support the economy in the little way that I can. Right. So, hey, let me ask you this. You're a mom of 2 boys?
2 children, 1 daughter, 1 son.
Oh, 1 daughter, 1 son. And how old are they?
4 and 8.
All right. So you've got a 4 and 8-year-old. You work from home, right?
Yes.
Got a 4 and 8-year-old in the home.
Yes.
All right. Tell us how that's working out these days.
Oh, nowadays, pretty good. First week, pretty awful. Let's be real.
It only took you a week to master?
Well, no, it took me 2 weeks. The reason why is because my husband was in California. I was on vacation the week that our both of our governments, American and Canadian, decided that to close the border. And my husband was in California. At the same time, the school called the province stated that the school were closed, and our school decided to be online the following Tuesday. And so we were like, oh, it's not going to be that bad, until we heard whoever is in the United States or external from Canada needs to be in confinement, and whoever is in school, you parent has to take care of that. And so we were like, what?
Right. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And so that's what happened. So, so the first week when we came back, like whenever you're on vacation and you come back to work, especially 1 week, you're still on the go mode. So your adjustment period is not quite there. Yeah. So for me, I went to, so we're picking up things as I left before vacation. And what I hit is, that's not realistic. It's overwhelming. It's overbearing. And then at some point I said, you know what? I need to rejuggle this. So we recreated a calendar because my husband was no longer able to help because he was in confinement. So I actually realized that I actually had to support him on top of supporting 2 children and a business and so many other things, so many clients. And then I had to think of, is this going to be a pandemic for 2 weeks, or is it going to be a longing laster? What am I going to do with my staff? So I had to think about so many areas at the same time. So I created a calendar. Every single person in this house had a calendar, had to follow it. Maybe not as flexible, but the moment I wrote what to do at what time, rejiggle, instead of starting the day at let's say 8, we started the day at 5:30. So then I knew that I had sometimes to work. I had sometimes to take care of the kids. Like it was really that. The other thing is that I did is lower your expectation. So us as women, we have this tendency of, even though in our head we know we're not superwoman, but we act as if we are superwoman.
Oh, we believe we are. Right.
So it's like,
we would tell our best friends, girl, you cannot do it all. Stop trying to do it all. But we look in the mirror at ourselves and say, girl, you need to do it all. And you're not measuring up.
Exactly. And then we go into this, oh my God, we're not doing the job. We are not worth it. We are not enough. We're not, all those fears comes and overbear us at the same time. And so that didn't work. That didn't work at all. So I lowered my expectation completely. If it wasn't at 0, now it was at -0. So that's where we're
and
at.
I would even say, Greguy, I would say that that's not lowering. I would say that is adjusting your expectations to be realistic.
Yes. But my brain didn't understand that. It's like, let's be real. My brain was like, what are you talking about? So saying lowering made sense for my brain, right? Readjusting to the norm makes like, no, you're always on the go. So what are you talking about lowering? So I had to just rejiggle, reset, reboot my brain saying, this is your new norm. You need to adjust to that. So lower it. So by saying that, that kind of removes one thing that many women that I've spoken afterwards, the stress, that stress level, because they kept it still high.
Right.
So by just giving yourself permission to lower your expectation so that you can actually care for yourself and others, allowed me to say, okay, I can do this. And if I can't, I'm going to delegate. Kids started to do more on their course. Obviously husband started to feel guilty. Did I help not making him feel guilty? I was like, you could have, and then I was like, no, you know what? With love, it's guilt with love. But eventually, you know what? At some point we were just like, you know, we really need to readjust, because as we were listening to the news, we decided that there was too much of that. Kids started to have nightmares. And so we reduced that to the minimum, to the bare minimum. So little stuff like that, we adjusted in order for us to be able to survive this pandemic.
Yeah. So, hey, really quickly, because I want to dive into a lot of stuff and I want to make sure we have time, but something just came up for me that I'm pretty certain women listening are curious about. So, being a mom of a 4 and an 8-year-old, not easy on a non-pandemic great day, like heroic on any given day. So can you share some tips about how you have maybe, you mentioned that your kids were having nightmares. So can you share some tips on how you've talked to your children about what's going on, how you're giving them a sense of certainty in times of uncertainty, and kind of if you're using the language of time or not, because that's not really a language that children understand. So what are you doing there? Help us out with that.
So what we've decided to do, and I'm not just going to take that responsibility, the school also helped. So we created some activities to sit down, first of all, to ask them to listen to their feelings. To ask them what they felt, what they knew, first of all, what they knew about what's going on out there. Acting as if they don't know was unwise, because they were listening and hearing information from left to right, the same way as we did. So hearing that, listening to, telling them and sharing what is really true and what is not. What can we do to protect ourselves and protect others? So washing the hands, we start counting until 20. And to do that, we started singing the song Happy Birthday twice. So that was fun, because in all the bathrooms, we could hear Happy Birthday to you. And so that was fun. And then you knew that
every day is a birthday.
Every day was a birthday. So it was creating this sense of reality, whereas at the same time creating it in a fun way so that the children were not overwhelmed. Now, when the kids started having nightmare, when I sat down with them, it was hard at first because they couldn't figure out why they were suddenly having nightmares. Then I realized that the fact that we had the news on, all the information coming from left to right, from grandparents, from this, from that, the worry of grandparents in other provinces. So ensuring that they were seeing their grandparents every day on FaceTime or any type of device, making sure that we connected with them and spoken with them on a separate note to let them know that please do not talk about your worry or imposing that, and allowing the children to be reassured all the time. So small elements that we've added into our activity. And then we would ask them to draw your feelings, draw your thoughts. And then we had some little plays that they created so that we were able to see what was going on beyond the words.
Okay, great. Did they stump you with anything, Greguy?
Their imagination, the stories that came out, I was like, what?
Where did you come from?
I'm like, one? I have creativity, but not that much. So they were, but they were superb. And now, the nightmare has gone, like everything that we've done. It was as I said, the first month was hard on so many different levels. And that adjustment was needed. And, but it also allowed us to, connect, right? Because by doing that, we have to connect. And even today, I asked my daughter, what do you like about this time? And what don't you like about this time? And she's like, you're here. You're not working. Wow. You're working, but you're here. You have time to play Uno. You have time to go and do gardening. So that touched me. What she doesn't like is that she actually have to go to school all the time, because she has more work now to do than she had before. But overall,
that is not the first time I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard other kids saying, I feel like they're giving us way more than they normally would. And that's kind of, that's a psychological kind of knee-jerk reaction, right? Like, oh gosh, they're not in our presence. We must assign them with everything under the sun.
But I think that we also are responsible for that. I say we as parents, because what's happening is that the children have break time, right? So they see their friends in between hours. Right now, they don't.
Right.
So they have this assumption that even though they're going outside for a few hours or for half an hour or whatever, they don't have another interaction with another child in order for them to bring whatever in their brain out so that they can actually relax. So I think that it's part the way children are viewing this time.
Yeah. That's good
in
stuff.
comparison to what they actually live in
what the reality is. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Exactly. No, that's fantastic. So how are you, let me ask you something. How are you switched, I want you to tell us a little bit. You switched from being in a Fortune 500 company to your own business. Mm-hmm. And that, little did we know, prepared you for this pandemic, right? Because you were working from home before, right? For the most part?
Yes, I was. So working from home for me is not an issue. Actually, I love working from home. I have my studio, I have my staff, so I go there when I need to. But the truth is, the pandemic was not a big deal from the part of how to work or juggling that aspect. It's everything else that was added on to, like, I'm not used to have the kids being here and constantly asking for food.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
I'm hungry.
You guys, you never are used to wanting to eat that much. And now it's like they want something all the time. So that part I'm used to. But the rest was not, it wasn't added. Having my husband recreating our offices. So now we had an office for ourselves, an office for my husband, an office for my daughter, an office for my son. Even if he's 4, he's still going to school. So everyone had to rejiggle the house.
Yeah.
So it's quite different. Adjustable, yes. But you have to give yourself time.
Time and grace. Yeah, absolutely. Grace. Yeah. So tell us about the shift. Why corporate America, not even America. See, look at me being all culturally insensitive. Corporate Canadian to working from home, entrepreneurship.
So my journey started like this. Before the corp, I was a pre-med student. I wanted to help people from a doctor, from an MD aspect. But then when the reality hit, my father passed away. And then that need of wanting to help was still there, but the work to do that and the gratification at the end, the reality hit. So I left pre-med and then I was lost. So I was like, okay, let me look into what corporate, the world of corporate meant. And so I went there, but I went there just to find myself, to rejiggle, look into different career paths, so that I could figure it out. But then when I got there, I started climbing the ladder. And of course, the money was good. I was young. I was also one of the bread holder at my house, at my mom's house. So we had, she had, bless her heart, she had decided to help other family as a widow. So by doing that, that means that she was also financially, she was overwhelmed. And so I just stepped up and, became the fixer or the rescuer, what I call the fixer and the rescuer. And so I stepped up and so she landed to that personal responsibility that stayed in our culture. And as a woman, I took. So I climbed the ladder, and then I was challenged because as a Black woman, I realized that no Black people or any other type of culture actually was going up when we look at the ornogram. So we were looking at the pictures. Someone said, there's no way you're going to be able to go up. And in my heart.
Now, were they specifically referencing the fact that you were Black when they mentioned that?
They were specifically saying that because I was Black and because I was a woman.
Not because I was it's like person. Strike one, strike two, strike. Yeah.
And then I was like, what are you talking about? That's like glass ceiling all over the place, even though I didn't even know what that word meant. And I'm like, what are you talking about? So my heart was saying, let's go for it. My mind said, this is not your destiny. Which is quite interesting because I was like, well, I still need to go through that. I want to help the generation behind me to show that you can climb the ladder. And I have done it. Here I am. So I did. I didn't listen to the rest. I just pushed through. And I pushed through. I hit another type of glass ceiling, which was, female leaders or female representative who decided that that was not a fit. My values, my good sense of my GPS was not a match for them. It would have been good if that was it, but they decided to show it. So I went through what we call workplace bullying and harassment, and the intimidation was so much that eventually my mind started, my mental, my physical, and my emotional aspect. I bankrupt. It hit bankrupt all at the same time. The thing is, I remained silent. I didn't want to overbear my family because I also know my responsibility there. I started worrying if I'm not there, who's going to provide. So I became, I became the fixer, but I also kind of took the syndrome of the savior, of God's savior.
And that reminds me of what you were talking about at the beginning, that, of how we tell ourselves we're not supposed to be. In our minds, we tell ourselves we're not supposed to be superwoman, but we still, we act that out in what we're doing. And you, I mean, just from what you talked about with your mom and wanting to step up and stuff like that, like your personality seems to have a natural bent towards responsibility, which I think it's fascinating because you can talk about that now without as much, or maybe with little to no mental or emotional bankruptcy as you're describing, because you're kind of like an outsider looking in at the past you, right? But you weren't there then. You weren't there at a place where you recognized that's who you were, where you recognized I had this savior kind of mentality that was eventually ending me up in this bankrupt role.
Exactly. No, I didn't have that. I learned about that afterwards. And I learned it in the harsh way, because when I hit bankruptcy, my body also left me. So from the back and from my back, the lower back to my legs, I was no longer able to walk. And when I went to the doctor and they were not able to figure out what was going on, only one doctor said, you're hitting burnout. And I said, I don't understand. What does that mean? What I need from you is that you give me and prescribe me some pills, because if I don't go back to work tomorrow, these women are going to crucify me. And more was talking and crying. Literally, I was crying and begging him. I could hear myself saying those words, which was almost pathetic. And yet I couldn't understand what I was saying, but he did.
Yeah.
And he said, because you just said that, I'm actually going to add on your weeks. And so I started going into grieving mode. And I was angry. I was angry at him, and I was blaming him for not allowing me to go back to work. But the truth is, I was not able to walk.
Right.
So my feet were not responding. I was eventually diagnosed with temporary paralysis. The pain was crucial, but my mental and my emotional pain was crucial. I don't know if there was another word, but it was harder than the physical aspect.
Sure. Yeah.
And from there, I had to heal. And in order for me to heal, I decided that I needed to reset my mind. And so I decided to go in psychology, even though I was lying on this bed, because my husband, bless his heart, was saying, something is wrong. You need to leave. This place is toxic. You're going through toxic relationship, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, I don't know what you mean. I have to go back. How are we going to support our family? How are we going to support ourselves? And what about all those mentees that I have who want to go and thrive to that next level? If I don't show up, they're not going to be able to do so. And I can't tell them what's going on. Responsibility that I've put onto to save the world.
Yeah. Save the world.
And
let me ask you this question. Yeah. So, you mentioned before you get to, the going into psychology and the beginning of the healing process for you, before you can get there, you have to have an aha moment. You have to have a moment where you go, this is not my body. This is unreasonable. I'm face to face with myself. And this is not good for me. This is not only not good for me, it's not sustainable for me. What was that moment for you? Was there an identifiable moment for you?
That moment came outside of me. Even though I'm a faith believer, honestly, I love God more than ever. I was not listening to him. I have to be honest. Okay. I was not you know what? People, we're going to be fair. I was not listening to what he was saying. I actually was in a blaming mode, and I was angry. I was angry at myself for allowing myself to be falling into this road of bullying, because back in the days, I used to protect young kids from bullying. So here I am being a victim of it and not even recognizing it and not understanding why people didn't like me. What's wrong with people, right? So I'm a nice person. So that nice girl mentality. And I was blaming God. I said, you taught me to be good. So I'm expecting other people to be good. You taught me to be honest. So I'm expecting other people to be honest towards me. So where did I go wrong? Where did I go wrong? And so I was not listening to him. And then I kept into this cycle of victimization. And it's when that happened, one of my good friend, my best friend from Calgary, called me, and she heard my voice, and I was trying to, she knew something was wrong. And so I was trying to keep it together. And then she's like, I'm taking a plane ticket, and I'm going to be, into your town in a few. And I said, no, you don't have to come. And she's like, I'm coming. More you say no, more I'm coming. So she came. And as soon as I saw her, I started crying, and she saw me, and she said nothing. Bless her heart. She said nothing at that moment. And she let me have it, rant, speak about my emotion, everything. And at the end, she said, do you realize that all the energy that you've put out there about talking about women that hate you, that hurt you, and yes, that's their responsibility, but it's your responsibility for blaming yourself and keeping that inside of you. Yeah. And allowing it to happen. And I said, what are you talking about? She's like, they're not thinking about you. They're done. They've done their deeds. Right. And I said, what? And that kind of stopped me in my fears, stopped me in my mind, that reset moment happened right there. Yeah. And I said, what do you mean they're not thinking about me? I have been thinking about them all the time. They have to be thinking about me. All this pain that they've created, they must be thinking about me. And she said, no, they're not. And that's the moment I started realizing what really was going on with me. That's that moment. It was just a little sentence, and that kicked me in the bum. And I said, well, then, if they're not thinking about me, now what? I'm lost because there's nothing else to do than blaming them. So, there's no reason for blaming them. So I need to start healing. And so I had to go through a process of forgiveness towards them, forgiveness, asking God for forgiveness to them, because I didn't want God to hit them either. But teaching them. No, honestly, I was like, there was in my blaming, ranting, I was like, strike them, because you know what? I am your child. How could you have done? Yes. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, forgive me for saying those things. So please forgive them and have some compassion.
Right.
So at some point,
fantastic.
at some point I realized that I needed to understand how those emotions, an external stimuli, impacted my body, my mind, and my emotions.
Yeah.
And that's
and how you kind of like let it so it moved in, right? Mm-hmm. It moved into your mind. You leased space to it. You said, come on in. And it grew and it said, well, let me take over this and let me take over this and let me take over this, until it took over not just your thought space, not just your thought world, but your physical wellness. Exactly. It took over that. And I think what's beautiful about your story, I'm not glad that you went through it. I am grateful, Greguy, that you went through that and you've decided to work through that, because I think it highlights for women just how critical what happens up here in our minds affects everything, everything. You know, women say, I'm good at hiding it, or I'm good at faking it, or I'm good at whatever. No, let me tell you, eventually it grows so big that it can't fit inside of that thought world anymore. And it's got to meet out its fears and its worries and its anxieties on your body, on your relationships, on your careers. I mean, all of it. So thank you for being brave enough to share that.
Thank you. Thank you.
So,
but you're right. It takes every single element, but it's not something that we know about, right? It's not something that we raise and say, oh, by the way, take care of yourself, because the reason why you take care of yourself, it's not just because you're going to have white hair if you don't, but it's because there's things that could happen to your body that is not sustainable. And it doesn't matter how old you are. Because when you're young, you think that you can do everything and anything. It has nothing to do with age. It has something to do with the fact that self-care is important. Putting yourself, that's why, and I know this is not a gotcha, but the truth is, everything that I do now, even the business that I have, is based on the command, which is love God with all your heart, your mind, and your soul. But it's also about love others. But then there's the sentence that we seem to always miss. Love yourself.
As yourself. Yes.
As yourself. We skip that. Like, it's like, oh yeah, but how can you love your children? The one thing I say all the time, how can you love your children? How can you love your husband? How can you love anyone else if you don't even start by loving yourself? Because that love is a transference of everything else.
That's right. Because if I know how to take care of myself, right? If I know truly what a value and treasure I am, then that's going to inform everything. It's going to inform how I treat myself. It's going to inform how I treat you. Exactly. It's going to inform how I love you, right? And it's
exactly.
I think that's where a lot of us women, we can get into self-destructive patterns because we have not first loved ourselves. Yeah. So that's really good stuff. So, hey, talk to me a little bit about the word bravery and what that means to you, because that's a big thread in the work that you're doing. So can you just share that with us?
So after going through everything I had to go through, what I realized that in order for me to step up into who I need to be, who I was meant. Like earlier I said to you, there was a moment, there's always a crossroad that we span, like we take. And there was a moment that I knew when I was in the corporate that this is not your destiny. This is not your purpose. And I chose the opposite. And by choosing the opposite, I went through what I needed to go through. But now I realize that from there, I am able to make another choice. And be there to be courageous, have this courageous confidence that I can stop playing small and act and be enough. Right? Yeah. Because when I hit the, the world is against me type of thing, it was that I didn't feel enough. I didn't feel that I was part of something, even though everything I was doing pushed me that I can climb that ladder because I was confident enough. But it took a few women to come against me to start making me feel little, small, undeserving, not good enough, not smart enough. And so I decided to say, if I feel like that, how many other women feels the same way? And I wanted them to
at some point.
It's so big that I'm not enough. So I say, you know what? You're brave enough. If you don't believe that you're good enough, you don't believe that you're smart enough, but you can believe that you're brave enough. Take the courage, to take that step so that you can reclaim your life first, so that then you can love other people and be able to stop worrying about trying to fit into that glass slipper and start breaking through, so that you can start helping your daughter and your son, legacy that mimics you, that see you, that doesn't listen necessarily, but they actually look at you as a role model to make that change in their life, so that they can say, I am enough. I am brave enough because I saw my mom or I saw my dad do what they can to break that ceiling.
Yeah. Amen to all of that. I think too, you just hit on so many truths there, because it goes back to what I was saying, how us as women, we can lie to ourselves and say, I can fake it. I'm good at covering it up. But the truth is, and I believe you and I both know this, Greguy, you can't mask something. You cannot mask an ingrained belief enough for others not to see it. And that includes our children, right? That includes our children. Our children will see it. Our children are super duper smart. They are intuitive. They have a gift of parting the curtains like nobody else does, because they don't have the filters. They don't have that time, that expanse of all of this stuff that's come out at them to kind of drown out that sensitivity, drown out that innocence. And so they're able to essentially divine what's happening with us. And so what would your encouragement be to a mom who's maybe back where you were, and she's thinking, I have so much resting on my shoulders. I cannot let any ball drop. What would you say to her?
I'm going to say to her to look at where this is coming from. The question I often ask is to women, I say, when you look at this type of mentality, who is this person reminding you of? Who are you trying to be? Is it your mom? Is it your dad? Is it someone that you have seen? Because since the children are mimicking what they know, and the first person that usually are mimicking is their parents, who is that person that you need to prove or receive that approval or permission? Who is that? Because it doesn't seem to be you.
That's good. Yeah.
It doesn't seem to be you.
Who asking yourself, who am I? Who is this for? Because it's killing me. Exactly. So it's obviously for somebody else. Yeah.
And obviously it brings you back, and sometimes it hurts, and I get that, and that's the work we do with Womanhood. But the truth is, you have to start with that question in order for you to realize that, are you owning your own life, or are you living the life of someone else?
Say that again. Ask that again.
Are you owning your life, or are you living the life of someone else?
Girl, I just got a little bit of chills right there. Man, that's powerful. And it's so true, because we so desperately, I think a lot of times we wouldn't say it. We wouldn't acknowledge it, that we're trying to please. But I believe we're constantly trying to please and constantly trying to prove. And going back to what you said about this belief about, this mindset of I'm not enough, I take that one step further. Because I don't think it's, and this might sound odd, I don't think it's enough to feel like you're enough. Because enough is just like, I measure up. I think, man, what if you could get from the lie of I'm not enough to the truth of I'm necessary? What if yeah. What if we could bridge that gap in our mind and think every day when I wake up, before I get on this phone call with you, Greguy, I'm like, ooh, she needs me. I'm necessary. And that is not boastful. That is not braggadocious. It is not cocky. It is not conceited. It is truth.
It is truth. It is truth. And but the thing is, in order for you to get there, you need to accept yourself.
Yeah. Yes.
And the fact that we're coming from the mindset of generations of male patriarchal mentality, and even culture, multicultural mentality of women, you're little. You are, yes, you are a helper, but you're little. Like you're not deserving. You are, you're so small that we need to protect you. You need to be protected. And so your contribution is not enough in this world. And that mentality has been given from one generation to the next. But the problem is, it wasn't just men who reiterated that. It was women.
You got that right.
It was like we always often blame the men, and yes, they have their part of responsibility. But what is our role as women into that conversation? When we go into corporate, we see so many women who's like, okay, I want to be in the C-suite. And then you are in the 1% because, they open that one door, one seat just to say that statistically speaking, we have a woman. And then every single woman are fighting for that little one job. And then here you are breaking other women to get to that one level. And you're acting like the man that you have been going against for so many centuries. Yeah. And so you do the same thing in your house, because that's the message that you're sharing to your children. And that generation after generation, you're saying to other people, women are not enough. And so you believe it too. And so you compensate with your smartness, proving yourself. And you spend your days proving it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what's really cool about this? I think you used, if I did not misunderstand you, I think you used the word helper.
Yes.
Did you use? Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So I did a word study. On that because I'm like, I'm that woman, Greguy, that always has to parse words out because I believe in the power of words. And so I really started to get miffed and take issue with women calling themselves or calling other women strong women because,
me too.
Okay. So Voltaire says the adjective is the enemy of the noun, right? So if we think about that, if the noun is woman and the adjective is strong, how can strong be the enemy of woman? Well, because if you take strong away, are you saying that strong is not imbued in woman? You're saying that you have to add strong because woman on her own is not strong, right? And girl, I feel like we're getting ready to I don't know, throw down in here. So I did a little word study, and the word for helper in the Bible that describes women is the Hebrew word is, I'm going to say it wrong, Ezer, E-Z-E-R. And do you know what that stands for? Warrior. What? Yes, that is who a woman is. She is a warrior. She is strength. She is valor. She is rescue. She is wisdom. She is all of those. So man, if we could really believe that about ourselves, just think about how we could change the world. But we're too busy fighting to prove that we are that instead of just being that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And that's what it is. And we have, I often say awaken the woman within. And then when I speak with people, it's like awaken the warrior within, because she is there. Yeah. Because back in the days, way back in history, if everyone did a little bit of more than the history of the world, not just their country, they would know that back in the days in Africa, in Europe, in all those regions, women were leading. Yeah. It wasn't the opposite. Yes. They were leading and they were warriors.
Yes.
And so how did we went from being confident, courageously confident, warrior, and respected, by the way, and to become, I'm playing small. I don't want to disturb. I just want to be in that box. And then I don't even think about myself in that priority list. So we need to awaken that warrior within. And it's not superficial. It is because she's there. This is how we were granted. This is how we're nurturing. And we have been able to balance both worlds. And it's time for us to step up. I often say that the movement of the women as a whole have moved women forward, but as an individual, women have moved backwards.
Yeah. Well, I think that can happen when we tend to, as individuals, rely on the collective to move us forward, as opposed to applying that to our own individual space and corner of the world. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's good stuff. So, hey, Greguy, so you work with women now. What do you do? What does that look like? Who's your optimal client? Because she might be listening.
Well, my optimal clients are professional women who are striving. So they're somewhat successful. I say somewhat successful because women have this tendency of not acknowledging success. For them, it's not something that they have. So I call it somewhat successful, unfulfilled, unhappy. Because on paper they are successful, but honestly in their heart they're not. They're unhappy. They are or in a transition. So they're unhappy, unfulfilled, or in transition, and they want to stop living this mediocre life, and want to thrive. They want to do more. They want to be meaningful, and they want to leave a legacy. So I help them find that brave, awaken the warrior inside of them, reclaim their life so that they can redefine their life and their love. So that in their relationship, not just with themselves, but also with their children and their partner, they can be better. They can be the best version of themselves and live it, not just say it. I know it's very cliche, this be the best version of itself, but it's one thing to say it and read it. It's something else to put it into action. Because the thing is, many of my clients are also entrepreneurs or also going into entrepreneur, and it's actually impacting your business. It's bleeding out into everything you do. So if you don't have this bravery or this courage to step up into your womanhood, as I call it, the brave womanhood, you will have an issue when you hit your business somewhere along the line, whether it's to scale it, to prepare it, to launch it. And so your money mindset, I call it the self-worth plus self-love equals net worth. Why? Because every single one of them impact your business at the end.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So much more than just plain business strategy. Yeah, I love that. So what does it look like to work with you? Is it individual coaching? Is it virtual? Well, obviously now most everything is virtual, but what does that look like?
So I have a program of one-on-one, which is for a high end. And then I have a group program that's going to be launching, in a few weeks. We're doing the Woman Wound, which is going to be a 12 weeks, session where we are transforming the inherited pain into power so that you can be let and shed that aspect of, that woman in the mentality of the woman, how she was raised, all this parenthood. Like I call it the mother wound, but the truth is there's also the parenthood, what people are talking about, the daddy issues. So that also impacts, women. So we get rid of that. We reprogram that in order for you to be able to reclaim your life. And then, I also work with people that are, wanting to be in a relationship or doesn't understand why their husband left them, all this relationship aspect, but it starts with you.
Okay. Oh, yes.
Starts with you. So you could blame everyone else around you, even your husband, even if after 28 years, but the truth is it starts with you. Do you know who you are so that you know what is your responsibility in your own relationship?
Girl, I know you're like stepping on some toes. That's what we do here. That's what we do. So, how does a woman, she wants to work with you either through the group program or through individual, how can she learn more about you and how can she connect with you?
She could go on my website, on Greguyschka, I was going to say Greguyschka at, that's not true. Greguyschka.com. So Greguyschka.com. So I'll send you that. They could also, book a free session, a one-on-one just to see if we are a good match. And also, because those free session are actually very powerful. Most of the clients that went through that, they're like, oh my God, this was so clear and clarity came to them. Yeah. So they could book a Calendly schedule. So I could send that to you. Great. So that they can book that and so see if where they're at and what's the truth about who they actually are.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We will include all of those links in the show notes for sure. And Greguyschka, what a beautiful name. I love that. You. Like, it's just fantastic. Like, you just need a t-shirt with that on it. Greguyschka. Right? I'm
going to have the Brave Womanhood and Greguyschka on.
Yeah.
That's coming up.
Mic drop. So, hey, speaking of Brave Womanhood, you have virtual meetups on the gram. Yes. Tell us about that.
So we have, since the pandemic happened, we created the Brave Womanhood, where we invite a guest, international guest, women mainly, who speaks about their truth and how to help others. So they give so many great tricks and tips and strategies for them to survive this pandemic, but also to share their truth and their stories and how to use your story to create your expertise so that you can thrive into your life. And so that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, and it's live, and tonight we have one too, and Dr. Sherri will be on one of ours, so we love to it. So that's going to be very, very fun. So it's kind of like a podcast. Eventually you will be having the podcast. So each one of them has been recorded and will be shared onto the website. But for now, it's live and we're having so much fun. We have great conversation. It's like I say to everyone, if no one is giving you a space on the table, create your own.
That's right. Oh, girl, I know. Somebody said to me the other day, you know what they said to me? And I love my dear sisters. I love you all, but I will speak truth to you. They said, they said to me, this is a man's world and I'm just trying to survive. I said, girl, I don't know about you. I said, but this is my world. This is nobody else's world. This is my world. I decide what my world looks like. I mean, obviously with some, communication with my Heavenly Father, right? But yeah, like, our world is what we believe it. And
it's been given.
Who we believe we are.
Indeed. And it's been given. So to say that it's a man's world is actually a wrong statement. It's again, ingrained lies. I'm going to call it as it is. Yeah. It's an ingrained lie because the truth is you have been created for your purpose, not just for some it's to give birth, great, bless your heart. And for others, it's to impact, influence, and create a legacy that can sustain and change the world. We are there to move forward. We are there to help others. And so using your nurturing aspect is a gift to help someone else. It's called serving. That's right. Serving and growth. That's what I say.
Yes, beautiful. Okay, girl, as if you haven't left us with enough already, we're coming to a close, the end of our show. And one of the things that I ask every woman that I have on the show is to leave one truth with the women listening that you want them to remember when today's conversation ends.
I would say, forgive yourself. You see, the thing is, as women, we've taken so much on our shoulders. In my case, I took responsibilities. I accepted responsibilities that technically were not mine. I wanted to serve. I wanted to fix. And some of you, it's the approval of someone. Some of you, it's pleasing others. Some of you is to want to create this world where you don't want to disturb. And at the end, when you ask yourself, who am I representing in this world? Try to start listening to yourself and forgive yourself and take that responsibility. Yes, I'm pretty sure some of you have been abused and hurt, and that's on them. That's on the perpetrator. But your responsibility is to stop indulging that and keeping that into yourself and acting according to the result of what happened. And so you are able to heal. You are a valuable person. You are worthy. Yes. You are enough. You are so much more than what you're seeing into the mirror. Stop playing that tape and accept who you are and step up into the woman that you're supposed to be. And I'm going to stop there.
Step up. No, I love it. Step up. You know, I was thinking, awaken the warrior, right? That's what kind of we were talking about. But then beyond that, you got to train the warrior, right? Warriors, they're born, but they're not made. You got to train the warrior. So like, what does that look like to train your warrior, to train your mind, right? And then go be the warrior. Come on, y'all.
Yes.
Right? Wake up that warrior, train the warrior, and go be the warrior. Greguyschka, you've been incredible. I'm so blessed to get to know you. I can't wait to do your Brave Womanhood live. You know, I've never done an Instagram live before.
Well, this is going to be very interesting. This is going to be fun. It's going to be like this.
Right. Right. Should I wear my big fat headphones or no?
Yeah, you should, because you know, you never know. You know, it's the internet, right? We're dependent of this new world. So technology is our friend at some point. So let's keep it clear.
Very, 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 very true. Thank you so much, Greguy, for joining me for the show today.
Thank you for allowing me to come to your show and for inviting me. It was such a blessing. You're such a blessing. Like, you're doing such a great, amazing work out there. So I appreciate you, and I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Greguyschka, mic drop. Need I say more? Fantastic show, right? Right, everyone? Oh, my goodness. I do encourage you to reach out to Greguy. Follow her over on the gram or on Facebook. We'll include all of those links in the show notes for you. So it's just a simple click away. And hey, listen, if you're looking for somebody to help you awaken that warrior within, go ahead and take Greguy up on her offer for that free session. We're including that link for you in the notes as well. And listen, my friends, as always, remember, you can sign up to be in this. I'm going to start calling it a warrior posse, because that's what it is. Every week, I send 3 text messages straight to your text messaging inbox. All you have to do is text the word THRIVE, THRIVE, to the number 540-369-2139. That's THRIVE to 540-369-2139. And I love to have my voice and my heart right in your inbox. And guess what? You can reply to me. So, hey, listen, share that with a friend. I'd love for as many of you all to sign up as possible. I love engaging with you. And I want to hear what your thoughts are about the show. So you can email me at drsherryspeaks@gmail.com. Please do give me a follow over on the gram at dr.sherryspeaks or on Facebook at dr.sherry. All right, my friends, remember this truth. Until next time, speak truth over the lies.